Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, or welcome if this is your first episode. We are so glad you're here. Today, we are talking about mindset shifts that needs to happen in the home building industry. Now, I'm sure if you have been in this industry for any amount of time, you have heard the phrase, it's a tough market, or something along those lines, especially recently. And I think this is something that it's so prevalently said, but there's really a lot more to that story than what we're actually talking about. And my guest today is going to break down the mindset shift that needs to happen to overcome that problem, that objection, that thing that we all are dealing with, but really to uncover what the real issue is there. It's a really insightful episode, and I'm so excited for you guys to hear everything she has to say. So if you are in the home building industry, this episode is definitely for you. So please stick around and let's get right into it. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the marketing and mindset show for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, and around here we go beyond pretty pictures and we get honest about what's working, what's not, and what it really takes to build better brands, better experiences, and better teams. You'll find creative ideas, practical strategies, and conversations that actually matter. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. All right, everybody, here we are. I'm so excited to introduce you to my guest today. I have Linda Mahoney. She is a national sales trainer with Shore Consulting. I'm sure you guys have seen her all over online. So Linda, thank you so much for being here with me today. I cannot wait to talk about this with you.
Thanks, Sarah. I am so excited to be here. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. This is going to be so much fun.
It's going to be the best. And I feel like when we had our little talk before, like we had so many ideas of how to talk about this topic, and like that saying of it's a hard market just kept coming up. So I just can't wait because you had some really great takeaways. I would love if you could give a little bit of background. What brought you to home building? How did you end up at Shore? Give us the little bit of the history.
Yeah, Sarah, I'm flattered that you think I'm that cool. Because while I may be online, I'm sure there's plenty of people who are like, who is this girl? But that's exciting. So I started in the industry about 10 years ago. And prior to that, I had a completely different career. So I was a registered, I guess technically I'm still a registered dietitian. And one of my clients was a really reputable realtor in the DFW area. And every time she'd come in, we'd have conversation. She's, Linda, you would be so good at what I do. Meanwhile, I'm thinking like, this is absolutely insane. I've gone to school for this. I have my master's in this. I had to do an internship, all these things. There's absolutely no way that I'm going to switch careers. And she just kept dripping on it, and my life situation changed. And finally, I thought, what's the worst thing that can possibly happen? I interview for a role in the industry, and they say, no, I have a job. So I interviewed for one of the largest privately owned companies at the time because they came suggested and recommended as the best place to learn about the industry, great training, etc. And so I started, and literally, I don't know, 2 weeks into it, I was at a training and I came back and I asked my boss, how do I get her job? And he laughed at me, like literally laughed. It was like, oh, that's cute. Do your job first, do your job well, and then we'll figure it out. And so that was the training coaching role within that company. It was a proprietary in-house, and so thankful and blessed for the time there. Really learned a lot about not just the industry, but also coaching leaders, sales consultants, etc. And then I recently joined Shore Consulting back at the end of last year, and really just gotten to see another side of it, another world of it, just expanding the influence throughout the industry. So really enjoyed all of the time that I've had in here in the role. It's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I love the people's stories where they're like, yeah, I had this whole other life, and
Whole other
then
life.
home building just hits you in the face, and now here we are. And it's so interesting to hear where people come from.
It really is. And what's neat is that when I was growing up, literally, no joke, my mom told people that I was a realtor for, I don't know, probably 5 years. I'm like, Mom, I'm not a realtor. In Texas, you don't have to be licensed. So I literally was not a realtor. But for whatever reason, she was convinced that was the easiest way. It just wasn't a job or even a career that was something that we knew about. And so I think that's really neat now that we're seeing a lot of people out of college do internships in the industry, and it's becoming much more prevalent. And to your point, we started doing job fairs looking at the whole college and different disciplines, not just the construction management because we saw that we were getting so many people that came from different industries prior to. So it's really exciting. Cool stuff.
I came from not the industry as well. And I think all these people coming in, they're bringing in all these new ideas from other industries that I just love. I feel like we need that so badly here in home buildings. I love when someone, even though it's industry specific, training and knowledge is really important. Sometimes bringing in those new ideas is a really big benefit too.
Yes, we always say you can't train culture, so hire for culture, hire for fit, and then we'll train the job. And it holds pretty true.
Definitely. I want to jump right into our topic today. So, we're talking about how everyone keeps saying that it's a hard market, but you and I both have a different kind of mindset about that. And it's really not a hard market. So, I'd love if you would, like when we had talked before, you had shared a little bit of this, give me the breakdown, why it isn't a harder market and what you mean by that when you say it.
Yeah, so I think it's important to clarify. So it is, to me, a normal market in the sense that the market is always hard to some capacity. When we were homes were flying off the shelf, a lot of times sight unseen during COVID times, it was still hard. So selling the home wasn't necessarily hard because a lot of people were coming in just buying the homes until we got on wait lists. And then managing people's interest became really difficult. And then once we signed the contract, it became really difficult to then make sure that we were maintaining their emotional altitude and maintaining their excitement about their home. Because we may have originally signed their home thinking, oh, it's going to take 6 months. And then one day it was like, hey, by the way, it's taking us 6 months to get windows. We can't close a home without windows. It's going to be more like 12 months, we think. And so that was really the challenge in that moment. And now, where we have a little bit more control over the building side of it, there's certainly less traffic, there's less people coming in, but there still are people buying homes. And so the focus just shifts. It's just a question of what is hard today, not, oh my gosh, this market is so hard. And Rhonda Conger, so she works with CBH Homes and she was doing a conference and she mentioned, I love this market. She gets on stage and that's how she starts. I love this market. And of course, everybody was like, is she crazy? What's happening? And then she finished it with it because it's the only one we've got. And it's so true. This is our market, is what it is today. And we'll get into this later, I think, but you continue to tell yourself it's a hard market, it's a hard market. It's going to become a hard market because you've convinced yourself that it is. And so rather it be a hard market, it's always a hard market and it's the market that we're in. So let's be thankful for it.
I totally agree. And that's the mindset shift that I was talking about in the intro is that, yeah, there are things that are hard about where we are right now, but I would challenge anyone to think of any time ever where something was not hard somewhere. So that's
Exactly.
just the way it was. And so what we're really looking at now is just habits, I think, that people have formed over time with different markets and different types of hard. We've formed different habits that maybe don't service us right now. So, my next question for you is, do you think that's true, first of all? And what do you think people were able to get away with before that maybe is not going to work so well now?
Yeah, that was a really politically correct way to frame that.
Yeah,
So,
I really tried.
for good job. So I think there's a few things. When we have people that have been in the industry and seen multiple markets, and so especially those who joined the industry during the downturn, 2008-ish, and even past that, they've seen, I don't know, maybe I dare I say that was a hard market, but maybe it
Yeah.
was just a different hard. Then they've seen it normalize a little bit more, and then they saw COVID, and then now normalizing again. We had a lot of people that joined the industry either right before COVID or during COVID because things were just happening really quickly. And
Mhm.
so it was a blessing. But what we failed to think about coming out of COVID is we were focusing and training people on skills that were going to help them be successful in that time period. And so people are coming in and they're wanting to see a home and sight unseen. It's a weird moment to be like, oh, wait, pause. I was trained that I'm supposed to do some discovery right now and basically find out why you want this home. And oh, if I happen to talk you out of it, sorry, kind of moment. And so what we saw is that we were learning more about our customers post signing the purchase agreement versus prior to, which is what would traditionally happen. So if that was your normal, now flip that on the other side, we struggled to get the discovery side of it. And what I mean by that is when we're digging deeper and finding out what is their true motivator, what does their current situation look like, why are they wanting to move, we started to get satisfied with just surface level answers. And so instead of digging deeper and really finding out the why behind the why behind the why and the emotion tied to it, it was very much, oh, this is a good reason. And maybe they'll buy a home from us because we asked a couple of questions to dig deeper. So that skill really wasn't, that muscle wasn't used. And so if you had it, it was almost that muscle, what is it, when it starts to deteriorate because you use it or
Yeah.
lose it kind of moment.
Atrophy. Yeah.
Atrophy, thank you. And
Yes.
then it was also, the muscle was never formed
Yeah.
because it wasn't a skill that was ever used regularly. So that's probably the biggest, I would probably put that next to even progressing the sale. We had probably the highest rate of what we would call floor pops, same day decision making, and or people that had to go on a waiting list. So they wanted to purchase, we just had to slow the speed down. And so once that became available, there wasn't a whole lot of dripping on them. There wasn't a whole lot of convincing moments that had to happen. It was, okay, they're on the list. They call it's their turn. They say yes or no. If they say no, we're going to the next one because they're going to say yes. And if anybody thinks that's normal in the industry, that would be the red flag at that point because that was very an anomaly in itself. But
Yeah.
if that's you're the only thing you know coming
Hmm.
into the industry at that point, imagine that kind of sticker shock of, oh my gosh, what is this? What are we doing? And the nerves that come with that. And it's not just sales people that came into this role, it's people that got promoted. So sales leaders and managers that it's maybe it was their first gig being a manager and their numbers look fabulous. They're hitting everything. And now it's a different, you're managing something different than maybe you were then.
We have to put in a little bit more effort into certain things now, especially definitely on the sales side, but even on the marketing side, like you mentioned we don't have as many leads now, and they look different online, and we're getting more no click attributions where it's they found us through chat GPT and then we don't know if they saw an ad and things like that. There's just a lot of changes happening right now that any of those habits or things that you have built up over time of, oh, this always works, like maybe aren't going to work now. So it
Yeah.
definitely makes sense to why people think, oh, this is a hard market.
And think about it, Sarah, when you had the success that you had during those years doing these particular things that became your habit and not doing some of the things that now have to become your habit, your brain is like, wait, no, I never had to do these things. I never had to go and build all these realtor relationships and ground roots marketing. That was not what I needed to do, and I've never done it, and I was successful. So why would I do that now? And it makes sense that it's conflict of your brain going, I don't want to do that. That doesn't feel comfortable kind of moment. So we definitely have
I
some work to do on that end, but
For sure. And these are all fixable things. I think one of the things that I
1000%.
see is follow up has really changed with with the market that we have now, and the expectations that builders have for follow up and buyers have for how you're going to follow up have really changed. And with us, with our OSCs and things like that's something that we talk about a lot. But that's like the main one for me. What kind of things have you seen where people are having to do things differently now, or maybe they're doing things that they just weren't willing to do before?
Yeah, so there, if you haven't been focusing as a salesperson on strengthening your curiosity and your discovery muscle, like that is a huge deal there. We've gotten in our minds like, oh, people won't buy the first time. And a lot of times that's that bias of I maybe wouldn't purchase the first time I went out somewhere. So I'm not going to put that on somebody else. And I don't want to be pressured and yada yada. All the excuses that we make up to justify us not feeling comfortable and not doing it. And so we have to realize are there certain things that we're not doing because of our own comfort addictions? Meaning, I feel safer in this spot not asking for the sale or inviting them to purchase the first time they come into the home. Again, and that's seeing that you've done a thorough discovery, you've built the relationship, you found the home that works for them, right? Of all of those things, makes sense, then why wouldn't we offer that opportunity? Oh, because I'm afraid of rejection because now I actually have to practice that skill. And then you mentioned follow-up. That's a huge one. I recently did quite a few competition shops. And sorry to the world out there if you saw me, because I give my husband's information because I really want to give them a real phone number and a real email address so that I can see, are we following up as an industry? And for the majority of time, we're not. I got out of this, I don't know, call it 10 builders. Some of them were the same builders, same 10 communities that I went to. Out of those 10, I had three people that followed up. Out of those three, it was just the initial emails. Nobody sent me a text, which was mind-boggling to me. And it was probably 24 to 48 hours passed by before I got anything. And one of them was an automated from the company that they put me in their CRM system and then it shot out. Thanks for visiting us, blah, 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 blah. And so that is just wild to me that that is the ante into the game service at this point. And you think about the service that we're so accustomed to receiving, it's almost like we are such an instant gratification as consumers that if we are not followed up with quickly, then we fall off. And that, but if you think about it, it's the same way. We're instant gratification as salespeople. And so if we don't get them to purchase a home for whatever reason within a certain amount of time, we're like, oh, they probably found something somewhere else. They're not interested anymore. And so it's this battle of we're almost doing the same thing. We want you to continue to follow up, but we don't want to push you. And we've not given up, but we've made an excuse that there's a reason they haven't purchased yet. So why would they want to hear from us?
Yeah.
But recently we did a training day where we basically did a video call-a-thon. And we had so many salespeople that were just, they were so floored that they were getting responses from people that they hadn't heard from in months. And they're not, those leads that are in our system right now, they're not dead leads. They're just untouched leads. And I will go to my grave saying, you today have people in your CRM system that are going to be your next buyers. I feel I would put so much money on that and hope that I was proven wrong because they exist and they're there. They just need a little bit of love.
We kind of did the same kind of thing. We did a secret shop earlier this year and we shopped 200 builders, and out of all of them, only 12 got back to us with a follow-up that was under 10 minutes and had some sort of personalization. And we even pulled that through to the 45-day mark. People who were still following up, there was only 4 builders out of all of those. So that's definitely something that we can work on as an industry. And I think this is back to the fundamentals of what an OSG should be doing.
It absolutely is fundamentals. And I think it's exciting because, one, if you're doing really good follow-up, bravo to you. And you are differentiating yourself from obviously a whole lot of other people right now. But it also should be encouraging because the things that we're talking about are not difficult.
Yeah.
Be quick and personalize it. Basically, care. And that's going to get you so much further than putting it off or making an excuse not to. So it's not like we're asking people, oh, you have to run a marathon before you're going to be successful in this industry. It's really not. It's as simple as truly caring and following through with what the buyer started anyway. That always cracks me up when it's like, oh, I feel like I'm bothering them. I've not seen yet where we are sitting outside of the models and forcing people to come in. That has never existed as far as I'm concerned. And hopefully we never get to that point. But we're not forcing people in. They're choosing to come in. So that it's not a cold call. They gave you their information. We didn't even spam them to get the information. It's wild to me that when we think, oh, we don't want to bother them. No, they raise their hand and they're like, hey, we need your help. So why wouldn't we help them? I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's so true. I'm not a salesperson. I'm in marketing, and I've been really working on my sales calls and pitching and things like that because I do sales for my company. And that's actually one of the things that was like one of my biggest blockers was like, I feel so annoying. I feel like they don't want to talk to me and I'm just continually reaching out. And it's really been something that I have had to practice of like switching my mindset, but also just gaining the confidence and the skills to be able to do these calls where I know I'm adding value. I know that I know what I'm talking about, obviously, and I know that what I'm offering is a good solution for you, but it takes a ton of practice to get to that point. And that's another thing you had talked about, like not resisting things that are uncomfortable. And I think that practice is uncomfortable for a lot of people.
1000%. And so I might be jumping around here, but I think it's important to mention what we're experiencing is so you are a salesperson, Sarah. Rather, we all are. My
Yeah.
3-year-old is a salesperson. She literally the other day is, oh, we're going to go to the park. Yeah. I was like, did she just close me? Like, is that what just happened? One, I'm really proud of you, but also don't practice those skills on me. But the reality of it is,
Yeah.
so sales, we can define it as is when we're offering a service or product that someone either can't do or they're not willing to do. And that's the majority of people that are out there. And so this in a nice way, but I have to preface it with that because it's not going to sound so nice, but it's not about you.
Yes.
It's not about you. And I think it's important to mention when we're talking about the context of you, if your role is providing a service. Now, in your personal life, I feel differently. Yes, be selfish. It's you and you got it. But in a world where we're providing a service, it's not about you. Because so many times I just feel uncomfortable. I don't like seeing myself on camera. It's not about you. I don't like the way I sound on a voicemail. It's not about you. I don't want to, I'm worried about feeling rejected when I ask for this sale. It's not about you. If we can really look at our mindset and say, am I, and you just said it, I am knowledgeable, I'm providing a service.
Mhm.
Like, why wouldn't we offer that to the world, to people who need those things? It's a service-oriented role. And
Mhm.
when you talk about providing the opportunity for someone to purchase their first home or their home that they're going to build a family in, or they're going to bring their first child home to, or a home that is the first situation. I just got the chills. That it literally is, it's amazing what we're able to provide for somebody. And if we could just get out of our own way, how much more impact could we possibly have? And I'm preaching to the choir there because I was that salesperson who was like, oh my God, follow up. Or, oh, they said that they're not going to purchase for another year or so. I guess I'll just do a half-y kind of sales presentation because they're not going to want to buy anyway. What? Oh, I wish somebody would
Yeah.
have stuck me and said, it's not about you, Linda, stop. And
Yeah.
so I think the quicker we can get comfortable with the mindset, it's not about you. It's not about me. When we hear ourselves go, I'm nervous to blah, 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 I don't want, it's not about you. It is so much bigger than you. And that's where we need to find a place to live, I think.
That's such good advice. And it's so funny because it's like kind of a side note, but that what you said about everyone's in sales, it's so true. And I actually gave almost that same advice to my husband. He, a few years ago, many years ago now, he was going for his first sales job. It was right after we got married. And he was like applying. I've never done sales. I'm never going to get hired and whatever. And that's exactly what I told him. I was like, you did sales and all of these other roles that you've had and just talk about that and how everything in life is sales. And then I'm sitting over here being like, oh, I can't sell anything. So it's so funny how you can know it in your mind, but not apply it to yourself, which is just, it's so frustrating for someone like me because I'm like, I knew this already.
Yeah, knowing and believing is two different things. And so you just have to really, I don't know, maybe I brainwashed myself. I'm not sure, but I believe it. It's not about us. And when you can change that mindset and really embody that sales is a noble profession, it's really cool how
Yeah,
you think about things that happen on a day-to-day basis. And it's just it's an easy, in theory, it's really easy. But you have to be intentional about how you look at things that happen on a day-to-day basis.
you do. Intentionality is definitely important. You have to continually do the same things. You have to tell yourself the same things. You have to practice what you're doing. But I wonder too, do you think that kind of that mindset of it's almost I don't want to say negativity, but it's thinking like, oh, this is hard or I can't do it or whatever. Do you think that it has anything to do with burnout or any like, or do you think it's literally just in our minds?
I think it could because think about it. If you are If you're constantly feeling rejected, right, meaning you're making these follow-up attempts and nobody's responding to you, that's a low level of rejection, but our human brain says, oh, they don't want me. And that doesn't feel good because at the core of all of us, we're born to feel connected. And so when we start to do things that put us in a position willingly that go against that, it's a block and our brains literally like short circuit and they're like, stop, we don't like this. Why would you put yourself in a position that's going to cause you something that doesn't feel comfortable and you don't like? So it's very normal for these things to happen. But if we know that, we can make a change in what that looks like. I don't know. It's hard, but it's simple. It's
Mhm.
hard. And the more you said burnt out. So the more frequently these things happen, the more that you get no's, the more that you get cancellations. It's like there's a saying at a previous company of mine that success breeds success, failure breeds failure. And it's so true that when you start to get those things compounded, I think our tolerance for the rejection, for putting ourselves in an uncomfortable position starts to lessen. And so, I don't know, can I say that it's both?
Yeah. I think a lot of these issues, there's no clear cut. This is applies to everyone, and this is your one answer. So I
Mhm.
definitely think that a lot of people, it's a combination of things, which makes leadership so hard, right? What can leaders even do to help support their team through this whole experience?
So I think that one, need to understand our people at the
Mhm.
core as people. And so everybody comes to the table with a set of skills or something that they're bringing when you wouldn't have hired them otherwise. But what we need to realize is what form those skills. So we view the world how we through the lenses of whatever experiences that we've had. And so if we don't truly believe or understand our people to the core, how can we then encourage or inspire change within them? And so what we see is a lot of times frustrated leaders, I'm telling them to do this or I'm telling them to do this, and it's okay. How do we feel when we're just told to do something? And is there a reason? And it could sound as simple as I had a boss one, this is not a true story, but let's just say I had a boss one time who was just constantly yelling at me and Linda, do this. And so now in this role, when you're telling me, even if it's not yelling, but you're telling me to do this, I'm associating it with that bad experience. And my first reaction is to then resist. I'm not trying to be a bad team member. I'm just not, the way that you're communicating isn't getting to me. And it's not your employee's role to figure out the communication skill. It's your role as a leader to figure out how can I best communicate with them. And it's really interesting because sales leadership is essentially what we're asking our salespeople to do. Discovery, get curious. What is their true motivator? What's the why behind the why? And so, same thing. We have to invest that time with our team to learn who they are as people and how they function as humans in order to be successful and to tailor and wrap the package however they need it to be wrapped. Because if not, if you're trying to give the same thing to everybody and getting frustrated, yeah, no kidding, because not everybody's going to be able to receive the message the same way. Either they're not there in life or they're not there in the moment, whatever it is. It's just, you have to be able to cater that message to the person that is in front of you. And it's your job as a sales leader to figure out how to do that, not your team member's job to figure out how to change for you. And I think sometimes that becomes frustrating.
Leadership is so difficult that not only are you changing the way you're speaking to each of your team members, a lot of leaders have a lot of people on their team as well. So you're trying to keep track of all that. And then I think just like we had talked about earlier, the things that you say to yourself become your reality. The things that your leader says as a leader, the things that you're telling your team are also going to become their reality. And so you're
Mm.
just constantly evaluating, what are the things I'm saying? How am I saying it? Where am I going? Like all these things. And it's a lot
And we're talking about the coaching side of it, right?
yeah.
When you look at sales leader, that's like this much of the puzzle. And you're dealing with all of these other operational metrics that come into the play too that pull you away from doing things. And traditionally, it's the lack of time because it's everything is go, we need this now. time is the equalizer that doesn't allow us to then invest those moments with our team because sure, might it take 20, 30 more minutes to get through to somebody in order to really have those conversations? Well, yeah. Isn't it just so much easier for me to be like, hey, Sarah, start going into your CRM system and doing X, Y, and Z? That took, I don't know, what, 10 seconds
Yeah.
versus 30 minutes of figuring out why aren't we using it regularly? What's the pushback? Is it a systems thing? Is it a mindset thing? What is causing this moment? And we rather take the 10 seconds over the 30 minutes, but in reality, it's like a short-term game, long-term pain, right? In dietetics, I used to always tell people, you need to change your diet or you will be forced to change your diet. So either you invest that time now or you will be forced to do it later. It's your choice. Same thing. So is it the return on investment there? Does it make more sense for us to slow down a little bit, dare I say that, and invest that time with our people to really understand that and what's motivating them and what their mindset is to then hopefully get to the point where we can have those quicker conversations, but they're going to be more impactful.
It's a difficult thing to stop yourself and like slow down
Oh,
and to go
1000%.
back to all of that. But I think that's one of the most valuable things you can do. And I always look forward to being able to have the bandwidth to do that with my own team is like,
Yeah.
if I have a down moment, it's okay, let's just do a little self-evaluation of me, of my team. And it's tough, but it's really always brings good insights. And a lot of times I will then identify, oh, I say this thing all the time. And for me, it's always speed. I'm like, can we do that faster? Can you work faster? Why can't I have that right now? And I really had, that was a tough thing for me to realize. I was like, oh, you're stressing everyone out because like you just want everything to be done really fast. But I know we just do that as people. We have a lot on our minds. So we start saying these things and we don't realize
Yeah.
the impact that they have.
One of the things that I share with you that sometimes we hear is a sales leader who might say, "Bring me anything. No deals off the table." And then maybe the market changes a little bit and we're like, "Why are they discounting everything?" Because we literally trained them to bring me anything, which then also might say, "What kind of confidence does my sales leader have in the market if we have to get that desperate to where we're willing to discount something by an absorbent amount that we would have never thought was okay before this moment." And so are we training our team when leaders come to us and they say, our team's just giving everything away? We literally trained them to do that, to give everything away, and we were
Yeah.
okay with it without the conversation and of we're making this as a business decision today because X, Y, and Z. This and having the why behind that so that when that moment comes up too, a lot of leadership is training your people how to think and make decisions. And so if we can talk through, this is why this is okay right now. This isn't an ideal situation. However, if we don't do X, then we can't get to Z and yada yada. Now, this might look different in 6 months. We'll have to look at this. It's not an even playing ground. I hear from salespeople all the time that were like, "Oh, my manager's, he hates me, blah, blah." I'm like, "What's going on?" So I brought a deal and he said no to it, but then so and so brought a deal and they accepted it. And it was the same discount percentage. There was a difference in mentality of strategy when they said, okay, this particular community, this is going to be our margin community. This is going to save us, where this one is going to be more speed and lower margins. If you start to then give that up on your higher margin community, strategically, that's what you planned for. Now you're in trouble. And so, again, but we're making those decisions in a bubble. And if we're not sharing that with our team, they're going to make up a story, regardless of what happened. And oftentimes, it's not going to put you in a good light, or it's not going to be a story that you're like, wait, what? Why would you think that? Because that's their history, that's their past. They're viewing their lives today through the lens of their experience. And why would we leave that up to chance? I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone does. Every single person.
Absolutely. And all of this sounds, if no one has ever been a leader, they're gonna listen to this and be like, oh, this is easy. No, in theory, it all sounds easy, but we have
Mhm.
to understand it in theory before we can actually put it into practice. And know that, yeah, it does sound easy, but it's not. If it was easy, everybody would do it. It's difficult, and there's people involved, and there's multiple personalities involved, and there's time restraints, and there's the pressure, and there's this and that, that there's no silver bullet behind it. Cheers to all the sales leaders out there because it's hard.
It really is. And I think that's one of the things I love about doing these podcasts is because we get to talk about one, how hard it is and acknowledge that, but also give some insights. And all of my guests have been so awesome about giving tips and things that you can do today or stuff that you can bring back to your team. So that's my next thing. I want to get into the actionable real life changes that people could make. So if there's a leader out there that's feeling all of these things, what would you say would be like, what's their place to start making this shift?
Ooh, I would say okay, when you sit down with your salespeople,
Mhm.
if we're doing a conversion conversation, normally it's okay, tell me about Sarah.
Mhm.
And we're looking for things that are more detailed than just surface leveled. Okay, so Sarah is moving from this place to this place because of a job transfer. Okay, that's still pretty surface level. What was it that they were interested in? How did this happen? What are the names of her kids, et cetera, et cetera. So you can almost do a litmus test, write down the names of your team. And do you know their spouse's names? Do you know their kids' names? That is bare minimum. Like, think about it. These are important contributors to your team member's life. That's bare minimum. Do we know what they like to do for fun? Do we know what they like to vacation? What's their favorite restaurant? And this is not, I think this is an important moment. This is not a, let me send out a questionnaire and have them fill this out, because that doesn't feel the same as I'm going to intentionally sit down with Sarah over a cup of coffee, over lunch, and just get to know them. And the cool thing is that it's never too late to do that, because even if you haven't had the opportunity to do that with your team yet, it's okay to be like, hey, I was reading this book or I was listening to this podcast and there was this really great advice that I should stop and really get to know you as a person. And I'm sorry that I haven't taken the time to do that. Would it be okay with you if we took that time to do it now? Who's going to be like, no, I don't want you to, what?
Yeah.
If anything, they might be like, really? But the reality of it is, it's never too late. So that's something that you could do today, right now. Write down that list, and it should be a gut check of,
Mhm.
gosh, do I really know who my team is? And am I using that in a day-to-day kind of moment? I see some really great sales leaders who will talk about gratitude. I feel like if you are not practicing gratitude as a human, that is something that you can start doing today just to change your mindset. It's amazing. I actually wasn't that good at it. And I was listening to a podcast, and the advice was wake up in the morning and say three things that you're grateful for. And not things like, I'm grateful that I woke up, or I'm grateful that I have a house, right? Those might be things that you're grateful for, but force yourself to be intentional about, what am I grateful for? Or maybe that happened yesterday, or some people do it before they go to bed, whatever. And I did it, and I do it now, but I did it the first time. I'm not kidding you. I felt so different that day. It didn't matter if there was traffic or there was something that didn't go right. I literally remember there being a different pep in my step because I had done, and I was like, wow, what is this voodoo that just happened? But it's such a small shift. And so, as a leader, if you are not one personally doing that, just again as a human, no matter if you're a leader or not, do it. But if you're a leader, can you incorporate that into your one-on-ones or into your team meetings where it's like, okay, everybody go around and what are we grateful for? And start making that part of your culture or part of your practice. Sometimes I feel like the industry itself is male dominated, and so getting in touch with what you're grateful for and your feelings, like that's not exactly comfortable. But again, it's not about you. It's about your
Right.
team and what do they need? And how can you not just help them be a better team member and contributor or salesperson, because that's helpful for you, yes, selfishly, but how can you just help them be a better person? Like
Mhm.
when that person decides, or if they ever decide to leave your company, can they look back and go, I'm a better person because of the time that I spent with Sarah managing me?
Yeah.
Wow, that should be the goal. And so, doing a lot of self-check of, am I doing things today that are helping my team member be a better version of themselves? Because I'm causing them to be. I had a mentor that would say, are people better because of you or in spite of you? And I was like, dang, like that. hits you at the core of your heart. You're like, wow, I don't really know. But use that as a test of, is my team better because of me, or is it because they are so sick of me that they're going to prove me wrong?
I've had leaders that were the second version of that, where I'm like, I will do this just to spite you. And I
That's
will say that's not a sustainable way to live. And you don't feel like true fulfillment from those achievements either.
no. And you probably won't stay long. And so here you are.
Oh, yeah.
If you're like, okay, I don't want to invest in my team because they're going to turn over. Okay, maybe if you invest in your team, they won't turn over. And again, the byproduct is that now you're not training as many people as frequently. Or when you are bringing on more people, you have a team that you feel is so in alignment with how the business that you're running is, that you can send them and know that they're going to get mentored correctly. Again, you're slowing down, but then you're building all this on top of each other, and it really becomes a beautiful thing.
It's habits, like you said, like that tip about waking up, so good. I know, like for me, I wake up and I scroll on my phone for 30 minutes. Probably not the best way. And I'm sure there's others out there doing that. And like that, these kind of things, like it's going to help leaders, but it's also going to help our team. And I think the things that we can model for them, like it doesn't have to be big, amazing, like things that we're changing our whole sales meeting or whatever. It's just being conscious, I think, of the things that you're putting out there into the universe too. If leaders could stop saying it's a tough market, like less people I think would think it's a tough market.
Yeah.
And so saying those types of things like to yourself and to your team, is you just don't realize how much it's affecting everyone.
Yeah, it's never intentional, I don't believe.
No.
I don't think that we're saying
Yeah.
that. It's just, again, where did you hear that from? Well,
Yeah.
social media and the news and maybe your leader. And
Yeah.
so again, like whenever there's a salesperson or an individual contributor problem, I always scratch your head and go, is this a leadership thing or is this a true salesperson thing? And sometimes you can go either way. But we can't just always go, they're just not good at selling homes. Okay, well, based on what? What have we done to help them get
Right.
there? So you said earlier you scroll on your phone. I was one of those too. And what I did was it became my habit, which then became my comfort, right? And that wasn't the intention was for this to become my habit, but it happened.
Yeah.
And so what you have to do in that moment is decide, how am I going to break that habit? I'm going to make the decision tonight before I go to bed that tomorrow morning, or this is what I would do. If I'd wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I would scroll and then I would be up for 1 or 2 hours sometimes. It was crazy. And I'd wake up tired. No kidding, you're tired. You were doom scrolling for what? And so I finally
Yeah.
said, I can't do that anymore. So I told myself, I'm going to go to bed. And when I wake up, if I do, I'm not going to look at my phone. And so what I did is I made the decision before
Yeah.
the event happened,
Yeah.
and I was setting myself for success. If I waited for the moment to happen and then make the decision, my habit will always win. And so same thing with follow-up. If we make the decision that today, at every day I'm going to put on my calendar from 10 to 10:30 is my lead generation where I'm going to do follow-up. You are much less likely not to do it when there's a plan ahead of time. If we wait for the moment to happen, we start to feel the anxiousness or the nervousness or the, oh, what if they don't answer, or what if rejection, and our comfort starts to sink in, it's going to take a miracle for you to convince yourself otherwise at that point. And that's because you're human, right? It's not that you're weak or anything like that. It's literally how we are formed. It's how God made us. And so if we can get in the habit of saying, okay, I'm not going to do this, and we make that decision, you're so much more likely to do it because your brain is going to help prove you right. It doesn't want to be wrong. So if nothing else, tell yourself, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do my 3 moments of gratitude. And the likelihood of you actually doing it is going to be much more than if you wake up and then you hit the snooze button, or your daughter all of a sudden needs something, or you wake up sick, blah, 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 blah. All these things have the opportunity to come in and mess up the momentum. But if you have declared it, you're much more likely to be successful with it. So declare it and make it happen.
That was such a big breakthrough moment for me with what you said about your brain will always want to prove you right. That can just changed all of my thought process as I think when I realized that, because it's like, it's so true. What you tell yourself is what you're basically saying, this is what I want,
Yeah.
even when you're telling yourself things that you don't want. So like, it just becomes ingrained in you. And
Yes.
so managing your thoughts is so impactful.
So impactful. I think so. I wish I was more knowledgeable about this, but I'll say this. If you've had a dream before and you wake up the next morning and you're pissed off at your spouse, it feels very real. You had a bad dream and you're like, oh, you were doing X, Y, and Z. The emotion feels very real. It's like our brain doesn't know the difference between reality and what we are then telling ourselves. And so that was a lot of work I did with some of the anxiety that I've had before. It's like I'm creating these moments that haven't even happened, but my body is feeling the emotion as if it's already happened. And so, is that productive? And is there a way to get past that? And a lot of it, again, it's like you said, it's the stories that we're telling ourselves, it's the environment that we're setting up for ourselves. And it almost seems so simple that that can't be the answer, right? It's got to be more complicated than that because why haven't we figured it out yet? But again, it's sometimes the things that are most complicated sound in theory the most simplistic, which can be very frustrating.
It is frustrating because there's a part of me that wishes it was harder just so that I could justify the fact that it's taken me 35 years to figure it
Yeah,
out.
just so that we would feel good about it. Again, it's that
Yes.
comfort addiction. I want to feel good about X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
So I will justify that it is really difficult and it's hard and it's the way that I was raised and it was the way that I was brought up. Okay, newsflash, you have a choice.
Yeah.
Everything is you always have a choice.
Mhm.
It's just which way do you choose? But
Yeah.
that's also a really cool thing that we are blessed to have a choice
Mhm.
and choose the trajectory of where our thoughts are going to take us.
Yeah. You're in control. If you can do
Yes.
anything, if you're in control of it, right?
Yeah, definitely, which is really encouraging, but also scary as all get out too.
Yes. Yes, it definitely is. Thank you, Linda, for being here, for sharing all of this. I truly hope that it helps someone out there, some salesperson or some leader. I think that these are all things that, while they sound simple, it's not things that we think about every day.
Mhm.
And it's unless you have that time to pause and really evaluate, it's so easy just to keep moving and grinding. And we've got so much going on. So I
Absolutely.
appreciate you taking that time with me to make a time where we can create that for people. So I really thank you.
I appreciate the time too because it's a good reminder for me. There's things where, and again, that's the reality of it is you will slip sometimes and forget that, oh yeah, I did feel really good when I was doing gratitudes in the morning or I was journaling or X, Y, and Z. And so it's good reminders for me as well. So selfishly, I appreciate that as well.
Oh, this podcast has have so many selfish benefits for me. I
I
feel
love that.
amazing about it. If there is anyone out there that did find this episode valuable and wants to reach out to you for more information, sales coaching, anything, where could they do that? Where could they find you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is going to be the best avenue, but I think you can post that down below to see what somebody can log in and follow us. But also, my email is pretty simple. It's linda@jeffshore.com. So feel free to make a connection, an email, anything of that sort. I think it's important that it's a, it can be tough, but it just is a matter of which toughness that you choose. And I'm happy to connect and live there with you for a little bit. So reach out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll put all those links in the description box as I usually do. And you guys are having an event soon, your sales and marketing summit. So you're going to be there, I'm sure. So if people want to meet you in person, when is the Shore Consulting event happening?
Yeah, so our sales and marketing summit is happening in San Diego this year. So really cool spot. And it is July 15th through the 17th. And so you can sign up for that. And it's really aimed at sales leaders. We pour so much into our people that sometimes we forget to fill our own cups. So it's a really great event to get energized, to network and find people that are in the same boat as you are and leave just feeling fulfilled and ready to take on the next half of the year. If you have never been, I really encourage you to take the time and invest in yourself. And we'd love to see you there. I'd love to meet you in person. So click the button and do it.
Absolutely. I will see you there. I'm very excited and I will personally attest the best networking that I've had in the industry has been at Shore events. So
Good.
definitely check that out, you guys. And while you're down in the description box, find that like button, like this episode, share it with a colleague. That would mean so much to me, but also to Linda. We do this because we're just so passionate about what we do, and we'd love if you shared it. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you again, Linda, for joining me, and we will see you all in the next one.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.